Hello, hello, how are you? Welcome back to Life Trials by EIC. How are you? It's me again. Good evening. I hope everybody's doing well on this beautiful Tuesday evening. It is 7:13 p.m. here on the east coast of Florida. I'm over here in Fort Lauderdale. I hope everybody's doing well this evening. So I wanted to bring to you in this next episode another daily debacle of today's political news. In today's headlines, I guess it's more buried in the, mainstream media, where I will be assessing the governor of Michigan, Miss Gretchen Whitmer, who is now embroiled in her own scandal of the nursing home deaths that are currently under criminal investigation by one of the counties in her state, Macomb County. So it's crazy how there's, I guess, this phenomenon with the same party that was projecting their nonsensical principles and with respects to how you should address this pandemic and how you should take care of your family, just projecting that type of behavior on you, when in turn it's just so egregious that, as you can see, another one who is, we've obviously known for some time now, ever since they implemented their specific public policies, thinking that they were doing the best for their own people, but in turn were just, killing the elderly population of their state. So it's kind of crazy how you have another Democrat just in the shits. Now it's crazy how, the whole pandemic and the way that it was handled, and then just how the change in administration has really brought to the surface the real issue at hand here. But it's funny how it was first New York Governor Cuomo, then, I'm going to talk about this in my next episode, but also the California governor, who was telling you to stay home while he was dining out at the French Laundry without wearing a mask and no social distancing. We all remember that, right? So, and now it's this woman. So it's kind of crazy. The whole nursing home policy is obviously a point of contention at this moment in the news, and especially for the governor. And her biggest issue is that it says she refuses to release the data on the nursing home deaths. So I just find that fairly interesting, because the prosecutor here in this situation is suggesting, and according to the New York Post, that the governor could face criminal charges over her handling of deaths at nursing homes in the early days of the corona pandemic. So the investigation actually became a headline due to this $155,000 confidentiality separation agreement made between the governor's office and the former health department director. Amid these accusations could be hush money, or I guess just some type of quiet settlement that occurred and was not disclosed. So, that's going to be a big problem for her. I wonder why as well. So the Republican-led the legislature, which is obviously majority Republican, the minority party is the Democrat, but the Democrats hold the governorship of the state of Michigan. It's very bizarre. The balance of power there is very weird, but whatever. So one reason this specific bill, they're supposed to be, the Republicans put on the floor to be passed a $4.2 billion relief bill for just the state of Michigan. And it also entails this power limiting provision as well. It provides the COVID relief, but would limit her executive powers as the governor, right? So she obviously will not provide to her own citizens that are suffering right now because of her horrible public policies and with respects to how she's handled the COVID pandemic in her state. She's like ruined businesses forever, put people out of work, destroyed families, whatever. So she, like another Democrat, just holding on to power for dear life. So obviously the bill also ties some of the COVID pandemic funds to the policy bills, like those that would limit her, her power. And then also they want to limit the power of the state Department of Health and Human Services and their authority to, provide pandemic related orders. So you know how all those nonsensical emergency orders with respects to closing your business, closing your restaurant, no mask, wear a mask. Dr. Fauci says one thing, the other one says another, and now it goes from those extremes where people were completely destroyed because of these mandates and these emergency pandemic orders. And the consequences of this pandemic and the shutdowns more specifically will be really for years to come, as a side thought that I just threw out there. So what's interesting about this specific woman is that even though back in October of 2020, last year, the Supreme Court already deemed her use of the 1945 emergency power of the Governor's Act as unconstitutional. And it's interesting because it's how dare the duly elected law state makers attempt to actually minimize or consolidate her power, right? And it's so crazy that these people that are in power, instead of just doing the right thing and sitting there and saying, hey, I'm doing things for the people, especially my constituents, right? And they're more fixated on the sense of power and having that authority over others that can be silenced by such mandates and powers and that cannot fight back. How many people did we see that were had local and state officials raiding their businesses, their restaurants, just for trying to make a living, right? How dare these legislators even think that they can hinder her ability to have her executive power, right? So now she's holding up this bill in Michigan. So it's just interesting how it's just this phenomenon with respects to like how it's really only Democratic governors that have really engaged in such egregious behaviors. So because when you compare it to, let's say, Florida, we have been open and protected, safe. The governor has allowed for people to operate their business as they well understand and serve to themselves and their communities, not based on what Tallahassee thinks that the people should run their businesses. So I think that it's really critical for people to take a step back and really applaud the governor of Florida's extremely amazing, well done performance with respects to how he handled COVID-19 and how he took these initiatives from the onset with protecting the elderly patients. But that's not what these Democratic governors did. They really did damage to this specific population. And I think that this needs to be heavily investigated because this can be considered, honestly, a political endeavor of these specific Democratic led power grabbing, just hostile individuals that only see power. And it's really sad, that we're in a time now that it's crazy how they can just simply neglect their most vulnerable populations, and it's just seen as, oh, well, this was something that was supposedly, mandated by the CDC, yada, yada, yada. But why didn't other states take the lead or follow with respects to that specific mandate or medical consideration? So it's a facade on its face. And how could we forget about, the recall effort that's now underway in California for the governor over there, Gavin Newsom, who's destroyed his state even way before the pandemic. Like when I went over there in 2019, I couldn't even believe that there were people laying on the streets like dead. I didn't even understand that. It was so creepy. I just never experienced that because I've never seen that in Florida. You cannot lay on the sidewalk, half of your body on the street, and on the sidewalk where people park and walk, you're not allowed to lay there drugged up with needles in your thing, but only in California, let me tell you. And it's kind of crazy how you would think, you would suspect, and I hope you do suspect in my next episode who I'm going to be talking about with respects to how crazy it is that there is just now coming to the surface all these, governors of these states that are Democrats leading the states, nursing home debt scandal, Democratic. I don't get it. I don't know. It's kind of weird. So I just found this whole, I don't know if that was like, I don't know what that noise was. I have like the TV on here. So I am so tired, but I really hope that people have an understanding as to how important that this situation has become, where we have these duly elected leaders running these states and they cause such negligence with respects to how they handled their most vulnerable populations during the pandemic. And for me, it's just outrageous that they are just trying to sweep this under the rug, and the media is doing a great job in, assisting with that process. So I really hope and pray that everybody puts these issues to the forefront with respects to how these people have handled the COVID-19, and don't ever, especially in the mainstream media, they do not give Ron DeSantis much credit, and they really should, because he's an amazing governor. So I think that I hope you may be able to suspect what my next episode is obviously going to be with, with the daily news assessment that I've been doing. And I hope you guys enjoy these little series that I will start to do within my podcast, because I felt that it is critical that I bring to you guys all aspects of, my background and my knowledge and expertise with respect to certain fields of work that I've done and have some insight in. And I really hope to further provide to you guys a better commentary and a more better prestigious sense of structuring my assessments on the daily news. But I hope you guys enjoy it, and I really want to thank you guys so much for tuning in to Life Trials by EIC with yours truly. I really hope that you guys subscribe to my YouTube channel, my personal website, so you guys can see all my hot stuff that I do with my modeling. Please follow me on Instagram at Life Trials by EIC, spelled just like what you see right here. And find me, of course, just subscribe to my podcast on all podcast platforms, okay? I love you guys, and I will see you guys probably tomorrow. Stay tuned. I love you. Good night.